Okay, we're gonna do the last part of the first barosphere lessons, the first layers of the Earth lesson. Now, for this one, we're going to just take another quick look at this chart, okay? I'll put it down here so you can see it. And this lesson is called the relative thickness of the layers. So we're gonna talk about how thick each layer actually is. And these numbers are close, they're not exact. For follow-up work, you could go through and really try and figure out how big these layers are. But what I'm going to talk to you about is just kind of an estimation or an approximation of how thick these layers are. And one of the ways that I'm going to do that is by using a meter stick, okay? Now this meter stick has 100 centimeters, and we're going to compare the entire size of the Earth or the barosphere altogether compared to this. So if you imagine that the barosphere, if you imagine that this entire thing is this whole meter stick, okay, I'll move it like this so you can see it down here. If you imagine that, then the barosphere part, the part of the baros that is the red part, the heaviest elements, is going to take up 97.8 centimeters of this entire thing. So all the way from about here to here, everything in the middle is the barosphere, and that's 12,650 kilometers, or right about 8,000 miles. 8,000 miles all the way across from one side of the barosphere to the other. Now, the lithosphere is a little bit thinner, a lot thinner actually. It's only 35 kilometers thick. So if you look here, I made a little line. You can see this little brown line. That's about how thick the barosphere is gonna, or the lithosphere is gonna be. Not very thick at all. That's the stone, right? Litho equals stone. Now, that's about 25 miles thick. Now, it goes up and it goes down based on where you are on the Earth, but in general, it's about that thick. And that's only a quarter of a centimeter, okay? Now, the next one is the hydrosphere, which is even thinner. If you look here, okay, the little blue line, that's 11 kilometers, or about 6 miles thick. And that's 0.1, like 1/10 of a centimeter. So, not very much at all. Now the atmosphere is about 100 kilometers, so that's going to be like the rest of it here. But only about 7 miles of that is what air that we can breathe. The rest doesn't have much oxygen in it. So about 50 miles is the atmosphere out into space, but only a tiny amount is going to be that actually has air we can breathe, or that has oxygen in it. Now, the reason we use something like this is that if you look at how much the barosphere actually takes up, there is not a whole lot left on the surface. The thick, almost all of the Earth is that barosphere in the middle that's creating that gravity and that weight. So, follow up for this. Maybe you could make your own ruler, or draw a line and copy down some of those numbers. I think just doing some research on how thick these different layers of the Earth are would be really cool. So I like to see what you do. Post it in class notebook and let me know. Thanks, guys.